Hi there, so I thought I'd do another blog this way. I don't know what you think, whether you prefer the written ones or the video ones, or you like both. I'd really like your feedback. If you'd like to take some time to let me know what you think, that would be great. And also want to say, please go ahead and share the link to the blog on your own Facebook wall or however you want to, because that's really how I get to share the messages, is through people liking the post enough to take the time to share. It's great if you like it, but if you can actually share it on your wall, then other people will get to hear as well, which is always very exciting for me. So I hope you're having a good weekend so far. But today I wanted to look at a little chapter that I was reading from Philippians, and it really spoke to me today. I'm still in the Passion Translation. If you remember last weekend, I said that I was reading from this version because I want something different, as a way of shaking things up a bit in my daily personal devotions. So I'm reading from Philippians, and this is in chapter 2, and I just really like the way that it puts this. I'm going to read actually from verse 3, but it's verse 4 that I really want to focus in on. But verse 3 in Philippians chapter 2 says, "Be free from pride-filled opinions, for they will only harm your cherished unity. Don't allow self-promotion to hide in your hearts, but in authentic humility put others first and view others as more important than yourselves." And this is the verse, so verse 4, "Abandon every display of selfishness. Possess a greater concern for what matters to others instead of your own interests." We might as well finish with verse 5. "And consider the example that Jesus, the Anointed One, has set before us. Let his mindset be your motivation." And I think this really spoke to me. That the first sentence in verse 4 says, "Abandon every display of selfishness." And I think that we're very good at putting on an act, really, a lot of the time. But ultimately, what is in your heart will come out. You can't consistently act differently from what is in your heart over a prolonged period of time, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that is where our very core belief system is, in the very heart of us. And it will gradually worm its way out, even if we try and act really well. I've been an actress since I was young. My mother would say I was a drama queen, but I've loved being on stage. I love portraying somebody else in character. But the truth is, you can't maintain that for a long period of time. And I like this sentence, "Abandon every display of selfishness." You know, I sometimes think that we don't realise just how much people are watching us. My dad used to say, non-Christians don't read their Bibles, they read their Christians. And I think that's very true. That people look at us and they are looking to see, are we different to the world? Are we different to them? Do we have something to offer? And I think a lot of times our displays of selfishness are really evident to other people. You know, when we get mad at people, when we get upset that we've got cut off in traffic, when we see the last thing on the shelf in a supermarket that we want, and we make a beeline for it to make sure that nobody else can take that thing. Whether it's when we're out with family and we have a barbecue and someone, there's one last sausage left, and you just make a beeline for it. And some of those are silly things, and that's not, I'm not trying to say that those are all terrible things and what have you, but we ought to be different. We ought to be putting other people before ourselves and thinking more highly of others than ourselves. And that comes in so many different ways, really. And so I want to encourage us that as we go about our day, the Bible talks about the fruit of the Spirit. That's in Galatians 5, in verse 22. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, self-control, meekness, temperance, faith, all of those things, some of which we don't really like to talk about. Self-control is one I don't think I've ever heard a sermon on. Self-control, not losing your temper, not overeating, not saying whatever comes out of your head and letting it come out of your mouth. Those are all aspects of self-control, and they're not the only aspects either. There's lots of different ways that can express itself, but we should be learning to live in the Spirit more than we live in the flesh. And so when we look at our if we look at the fruit of the Spirit and we say that's a thermometer for our lives, what temperature am I at? It's a good indication on what we're meditating on. It's a good indication on how our spiritual walk is going, how our love walk with the Lord is. And so I don't want this to be a condemning message. You know, I'm not perfect in this, and you can ask anyone that knows me. But the truth is, I want to learn to walk more according to the Spirit. I want those selfish acts to diminish in my life so that people look at me and they say, do you know what? We see Jesus in you. And I think that's true. That's, as believers, that's what we really want. Most of us would say we don't want to be selfish. We don't want to do all those things. But, you know, even Paul said, I do the things I don't want to do and I don't do what I should do, and all of those, that kind of concept. But nothing's going to change just by itself. Nothing's going to change if we never do anything differently. So the way that we can move forward in this is by meditating on God's word, praying in the Spirit, worshipping God, focusing our eyes on him, and allowing that fruit of the Spirit to grow in our lives so that our selfish acts diminish and that we don't have them on view for everybody. I'm not talking about hiding them or pretending that they don't exist, but I'm talking about coming to a place in our walk with God where we are more focused on him and therefore more focused on other people, and being long-suffering, patient, gracious, kind, gentle, loving people in the world. So that's my encouragement for today. I hope you have a great Saturday, and I look forward to hearing from you. God bless.